Two black sisters, dressed in pristine uniforms from one of the nation's most elite schools, approached the check-in counter with first-class tickets in hand. It should have been routine, but when the gate agent's smile vanished, so did their seats. Minutes later, whispers spread, eyes followed, and a humiliating downgrade unfolded in public view. What nobody knew, least of all the arrogant crew who thought they'd gotten away with it, was that one phone call from their father could shatter an airline, freeze a boardroom, and force an entire industry to kneel. This was more than a flight. It was a reckoning. Lauren Sinclair adjusted the strap of her sleek black backpack as she and her younger sister Maya stepped into the gleaming terminal of Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. The early morning air inside the departure hall smelled faintly of coffee and jet fuel. Both sisters wore the deep Navy uniforms of Westbrook Academy, one of Atlanta's most prestigious prep schools. Lauren's blazer was perfectly pressed, her gold honor pin catching the light. Maya's hair was pulled into a flawless braid, her satchel tucked neatly under her arm. They looked exactly like what they were, two ambitious young women embarking on one of the most important trips of their lives. Their father had given them a gift, not just the flight to New York for their college interviews, but the trust to travel alone. For the first time, he'd allowed them to fly under their own names, without any interference from the powerful position he quietly held. The check-in area for Orion Air's first-class passengers gleamed with marble counters and polished brass fixtures. A sharply dressed check-in agent, her Orion Air scarf knotted perfectly at her neck, looked up as they approached. Her name tag read Cheryl Adams. "Good morning," Cheryl greeted warmly, her smile practiced but pleasant. "Tickets and IDs, please." Lauren returned the smile, sliding their neatly printed first-class boarding passes and Westbrook Academy student IDs across the counter. The agent's manicured nails tapped lightly as she picked up the documents. For the briefest moment, Cheryl's expression didn't change. Her fingers scanned the passes, eyes moving over the seat numbers, 2A and 2B, the prime spots at the front of the cabin. But then, almost imperceptibly, something shifted. The polite curve of her lips flattened, her eyes narrowed, her tone cooled. "One moment, please." Lauren and Maya exchanged a quick glance, puzzled but calm. It wasn't unusual for check-in agents to verify details. They waited as Cheryl typed rapidly into her terminal, her eyes flicking to them every few seconds. "Everything okay?" Maya asked, her voice even but curious. Cheryl's reply came with a thin smile. "Just checking something in the system." It was subtle at first. The warmth in Cheryl's voice was gone, replaced by a clipped, efficient tone. She placed the original boarding passes to the side and began printing two new ones. Lauren's stomach tightened slightly. When the fresh boarding passes slid across the counter, the seat numbers leapt out immediately. 24E and 24F. Maya blinked, confusion flashing in her eyes. "Excuse me," she said, still polite. "These aren't the seats our father booked." Cheryl tilted her head, her voice now honeyed in that specific way that was anything but sweet. "There must have been a booking error. These are your new seats, economy class. The system corrected it." Lauren picked up the new passes, her fingers steady even as she felt heat rising in her chest. "There was no error," she replied calmly. "Our confirmation emails?" Cheryl cut her off with a tight smile. "First class is full. I'm afraid this is all we can offer you today. You're lucky you're still confirmed on the flight." The words "lucky you're still on the flight" landed like a slap. Passengers nearby glanced over, curiosity turning into faint smirks as they took in the scene. Two black teenage girls in first-class uniforms, now apparently corrected to coach. Maya's jaw tensed. She could feel the sting of humiliation burn hotter under the weight of those stares. "This doesn't make sense," she said softly, almost to herself. Lauren placed a gentle hand on her sister's arm, a silent signal to hold steady. She had learned long ago that sometimes restraint was the most dangerous weapon. "May we speak to a supervisor?" Lauren asked evenly. Cheryl's smile didn't reach her eyes. Supervisor is busy. If you have any concerns, you can address them at the gate. It was the dismissal that did it. The subtle lowering of status, the unspoken know your place. The sisters stepped aside, collecting their economy passes. Behind them, another passenger stepped forward. A middle-aged man in a tailored suit. Cheryl's tone shifted immediately, cheerful again as she welcomed him by name and confirmed his first-class upgrade without hesitation. Lauren and Maya walked toward a quieter section of the terminal, the bustle of rolling suitcases and boarding announcements filling the space between them. Maya's voice was low, edged with frustration. "We should call Dad." Lauren shook her head. "Not yet. He told us only for emergencies." Her voice was calm, but inside she could feel the knot of anger twisting tighter. "This is just the check-in. We'll handle it." But the sting lingered, not just from the downgrade, but from the public nature of it. The way Cheryl had made sure other passengers could see the correction. It wasn't just a seat change. It was a statement. They were still in their uniforms. They still held their composure. But Lauren knew this was only the beginning. From the corner of her eye, she caught the reflection of Cheryl at the counter, already speaking on the phone, her eyes flicking toward them. Lauren's instincts sharpened. She didn't know what was being said, but she knew one thing. The check-in counter had been their first test. It wouldn't be the last. Lauren and Maya moved away from the check-in counter, their economy boarding passes now tucked into the same leather folio that still held the originals, 2A and 2B, printed clearly in bold font. Maya's lips pressed into a thin line, the tension radiating from her in short bursts. "I can't believe she just—" "I can," Lauren interrupted, her voice quiet but steady. "Which is why we need to start paying attention and documenting everything." They reached a quieter seating area near a window, the hum of rolling luggage and gate announcements muffled by the thick glass walls. Lauren slipped her phone from her bag, opening the camera app, not for selfies or casual snapshots, but to take crisp photographs of the original boarding passes. She zoomed in on the seat numbers, timestamps, and the clear contrast with the replacements Cheryl had issued. Maya followed her lead, angling her phone toward the check-in counter from a distance. She captured a discreet photo of Cheryl, her posture relaxed and smiling as she greeted another passenger. The difference in body language was startling. No tension, no curt tone, no sudden system corrections. "Got her," Maya murmured. Lauren's eyes flicked over. "Good, but we're not posting anything yet. We keep this close." There was a pause, a silent question hanging between them. "Do we call Dad?" Maya asked again, her voice lower this time, almost reluctant. Lauren took a breath. The urge to hit Jonathan Sinclair's number on her phone was powerful. She knew the weight his name carried, the kind of immediate authority it could bring crashing down on anyone who dared challenge his family. But she also remembered his words the night before they left. "Handle what you can. Call me only if there's no other way." "Not yet," Lauren said firmly. Maya blinked, surprised. "Not yet? After that stunt at the counter?" "Think about it," Lauren replied. "If we call now, it's just a complaint. It looks like we're running to him the moment something goes wrong. But if we wait, if we let them keep showing who they really are, then it's not just our word. It's a pattern." Maya leaned back in her seat, processing that. "So, you want to let them keep trying?" Lauren's lips curved into a faint, almost dangerous smile. "No, I want to let them keep showing themselves, while we quietly collect every single piece of proof." It wasn't the reaction Maya had expected. She had thought they'd escalate immediately, bring the hammer down before the humiliation could spread. But Lauren's plan had its own edge. "Okay," Maya said slowly. "Then we'll need to be careful. Smart. Every detail logged." They began setting up a shared note on their phones, a timeline of events starting from the moment they stepped into the terminal. Timestamps, descriptions, and now, photographic evidence. Lauren typed 0812, check-in counter. Original boarding passes, 2A, 2B, replaced with economy, 24E, 24F. Agent Cheryl Adams cited system correction. No explanation for discrepancy. Tone shift observed. Maya added, 0814. Witnesses. Multiple passengers in line observed downgrade. Notable difference in treatment between us and white male passenger immediately following. By the time they were done, the document was already shaping into something more than just a log. It was a case file. Maya glanced at Lauren. You know we're playing a dangerous game, right? If they catch on. That's the point, Lauren replied. The more they try to cover themselves, the more obvious it becomes. A boarding announcement echoed faintly in the distance, pulling their attention back to the schedule. They still had over an hour before boarding began for Flight 417 to New York. Maya scanned the terminal. So what now? We just wait for the next move? Lauren's gaze followed a passing Orion Air employee wheeling a branded carry-on. No, we watch, we listen, and we make sure that when the next move comes, we're ready. Their calm, almost calculated composure stood in sharp contrast to the simmering tension they felt inside. The decision not to call Jonathan yet was both strategic and risky. For the audience, those who would eventually hear this story, it created a delicate tension. Viewers might expect an immediate confrontation, a dramatic phone call to the CEO father that fixed everything in minutes. But that wasn't what was happening here. Lauren and Maya were letting the trap build slowly, deliberately. They packed their phones back into their bags, their expressions composed once more. On the surface, they looked like two students waiting for a routine flight. Beneath the calm, however, was a quiet storm, one that was only beginning to gather strength. As they moved toward the security checkpoint, Maya glanced sideways at Lauren. You know, people watching us right now probably think we're just being passive. Lauren's eyes were sharp. Good. Let them think that. It was a choice that would make some uneasy. It might even make some doubt whether they could handle what was coming. But for Lauren and Maya, it was the only way forward. The TSA security line for Orion Air's first-class passengers moved briskly at first, the metallic click of luggage wheels and the low murmur of travelers filling the air. Lauren and Maya stepped into line, their carry-ons packed neatly, laptops easily accessible for screening. They'd flown before, they knew the drill. But almost immediately, they noticed a pattern. White passengers ahead of them were moving through the scanner in under 2 minutes. A light beep, a quick glance at the screen, and the security agent waved them on. When it was their turn, the agent's eyes sharpened. Random screening, she said in a tone that was neither apologetic nor casual. Her nameplate read Pierce. Lauren felt the first warning bell in her mind. She had heard that tone before, the voice of someone who had already made a judgment and was simply looking for an excuse to confirm it. Step over here, Pierce directed, motioning them toward a separate lane. The words, random selection, carried just enough plausible deniability to mask what was really happening. Lauren glanced around. No one else had been pulled aside in the last 10 passengers. Pierce began methodically unloading their bags onto the inspection table. She handled the items with an almost exaggerated roughness, turning over the neatly folded blazers, opening makeup pouches, unzipping laptop cases with sharp, deliberate tugs. School laptops, she asked, glancing at Lauren's device. Yes, ma'am, Lauren replied evenly. Pierce powered it on, scrolling through the desktop with a frown. Lots of legal documents on here. You some kind of activist? Lauren's expression remained neutral, though her jaw tightened. AP government coursework, essays, scholarship applications. Pierce made a non-committal noise, as if she didn't believe a word of it. Next, she pulled out a small prescription bottle from Maya's bag. What are these pills? Fexofenadine, Maya said calmly. For seasonal allergies. Prescription labels right on the bottle. But Pierce was already raising her voice slightly. Supervisor? Heads turned. Nearby passengers glanced over, some with curiosity, others with suspicion. A middle-aged woman 2 places back in line took out her phone, clearly sensing that something was off. She began recording, her camera catching the way Pierce held the bottle like contraband, her voice dripping with suspicion. Lauren caught the woman's eye briefly, a silent exchange of gratitude. For a moment, there was a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, there would be proof this time. The supervisor arrived, a man with a neutral expression, already scanning the scene. "What's the problem, Pierce?" "These young ladies have prescription medication and questionable documentation," Pierce replied crisply. The man's eyes flicked to the clearly labeled bottle, then to the laptop still open on the table. He didn't look convinced, but he didn't challenge her either. Instead, he turned to the woman holding her phone. "Ma'am, recording security procedures is prohibited. I'll need you to delete that." "It's not security procedure," the woman replied. "It's harassment." The supervisor's tone hardened. "Delete it now, or we'll have to confiscate your device." Reluctantly, the woman lowered her phone. She tapped at the screen, her expression frustrated, and the video was gone. Lauren felt the sinking weight of disappointment settle in her chest. That brief surge of hope evaporated in seconds. Pierce continued her inspection, her commentary shifting into subtle jabs. "You girls sure are traveling fancy for a school trip. First class? Who booked those seats for you?" Lauren didn't take the bait. "Our father purchased them directly." Pierce raised an eyebrow but didn't push further. After what felt like an eternity, she closed the laptop, shoved the medication back into Maya's bag, and waved them on. "Have a nice flight," she said with mock sweetness. Lauren and Maya gathered their belongings, careful not to let their frustration show. They moved to the repacking area, methodically sliding laptops back into their cases, folding uniforms, restoring some order to what had just been dismantled. "Second time today," Maya murmured. "And we're not even at the gate yet." Lauren nodded, her mind already cataloging details for their growing case file. Pierce, TSA agent. Targeted secondary screening. Items handled aggressively. Public suspicion created. Witness video deleted under threat. They stepped back into the main terminal. The air felt heavier now, not just from the weight of what had happened, but from the growing awareness that this was a coordinated pattern. Passengers they passed gave them a mix of glances, some sympathetic, some wary, some judgmental. Maya exhaled slowly. "Still not calling Dad?" Lauren's eyes were focused ahead, her voice measured. "Not yet. Every step they take digs the hole deeper. We're just following their lead." It wasn't easy. Each incident chipped at their composure, but it also added to the undeniable trail of evidence. As they walked, Lauren's phone buzzed. A message from Rosa, the waitress they'd met briefly at the restaurant near the gate. "If anything else happens, call me. I saw Cheryl at the counter this morning. Not surprised she downgraded you. She's done it before." Lauren's grip tightened on her phone. Another breadcrumb, another name. They still had a long way to go before boarding, and every step forward seemed to promise another obstacle. The sisters adjusted their bags, their pace steady as they headed toward the concourse. Each movement, each choice, was deliberate. They weren't just passengers anymore. They were witnesses. And the day was far from over. After the TSA ordeal, Lauren and Maya stepped back into the bustling concourse, both feeling the dull tension in their shoulders. They had over 45 minutes before boarding, and the adrenaline was wearing thin. Hunger gnawed at the edges of their patience. Lauren glanced at a sign ahead. Skybridge Cafe. Fresh breakfast, no reservations needed. It was conveniently located near their gate. "Let's sit for a bit," Maya suggested. "Recharge before the next, whatever this is." Lauren nodded. "As long as we keep our receipts. Every step of this day is going into the file." The restaurant was warm and softly lit, with wide windows overlooking the tarmac. The air smelled of fresh coffee and toasted bread. For a brief moment, it felt like a chance to reset. The hostess, a young blonde woman in a crisp black uniform, greeted them with a bright smile. Her name tag read, Paige. "Good morning, table for two?" she asked cheerfully. "Yes, please," Lauren replied, matching her smile. Paige glanced at her tablet, tapping a few times. "We just had a rush, so it'll be about 5 minutes. Is that okay?" "That's fine," Maya said, relieved. Paige gestured to a seating area near the host stand. "Please wait right over there. I'll have a table ready shortly." Lauren and Maya took their seats, slipping their carry-ons to their feet. For the first time since check-in, there was no sharp tone, no raised eyebrow, no pointed comment. "This might actually be normal service," Maya murmured, almost daring to believe it. They sat quietly, watching as a server passed by with plates of pancakes and fresh fruit. The smell made their stomachs twist. Then the door opened. A white couple stepped in, dressed in casual travel clothes, rolling their carry-ons behind them. Paige's expression brightened instantly. "Good morning," she chirped, her tone somehow warmer than it had been just moments earlier. "Table for two?" "Yes, please," the man replied. "Right this way," Paige said without hesitation, grabbing two menus and leading them to a sunny table by the window. Lauren's eyes narrowed slightly. Maya glanced at the couple being seated, then at the clearly empty tables scattered throughout the restaurant. "I thought there was a 5-minute wait," Maya said under her breath. Lauren leaned back, her voice low. "Apparently, just not for us." They waited and waited. Paige walked past them twice, seating another pair of passengers, both white, each time offering warm greetings and immediate service. After 10 minutes, Maya's patience was fraying. "Are we invisible?" she muttered. Lauren's voice was calm but edged with steel. "No, we're exactly the opposite." As Paige passed again, Maya stood. "Excuse me," she said politely. "We've been waiting. There are open tables. Can we be seated now?" Paige's smile thinned. "I'm sorry, we're on a wait list. These tables are reserved." Lauren tilted her head. "Your website says you don't take reservations." Paige's expression tightened, a faint flush creeping up her neck. "The website is outdated. We've changed our policy." Almost on cue, another white passenger walked in alone. Paige's smile snapped back into place. "One for breakfast? Right this way." She grabbed a single menu and seated him immediately. Maya exhaled sharply, but Lauren touched her arm again. "Not here. Not now." Across the room, a waitress in her late 20s with dark hair pulled into a bun had been watching. Her name tag read Rosa. She carried a tray of coffees to another table, then passed discreetly by the sisters. As she set down the drinks, she slipped a folded voucher and a business card onto Lauren's lap without breaking stride. Lauren unfolded the voucher beneath the table. "Meal credit, Skybridge Cafe, $50. The card read, "Rosa Kingsley Server, Skybridge Cafe. If you need a witness, call me." Lauren's eyes flicked to Rosa, who was now speaking to another customer as if nothing had happened. "Someone's paying attention," Lauren murmured. "Someone brave enough to risk their job," Maya added quietly. They stood, leaving the waiting area. As they stepped out, Lauren turned just enough to glance back. Paige was already chatting with another passenger, smiling easily, no sign of discomfort. Outside, the hum of the terminal seemed louder again. "Even when someone helps us, it's in secret," Maya said softly. Lauren nodded. "That's why we document. Quiet help doesn't erase what just happened." She slipped the voucher into her folder alongside the boarding passes and TSA notes. Another piece of the puzzle. It looked, to any casual observer, like the sisters were simply heading toward their gate with coffee vouchers in hand. But beneath the calm exterior, the file was growing, and so was the quiet tension. For the audience, this moment was deceptive. Rosa's quiet act of kindness might look like a turning point, but the truth was, the system had still worked against them, and the day wasn't done testing them. The boarding area for Orion Air Flight 417 was a mixture of efficiency and quiet luxury. The first-class lane had its own velvet-roped queue, separate from the economy boarding line that stretched down the concourse. Lauren and Maya arrived with time to spare, their carry-ons in hand. The sting of the restaurant incident still lingered, but they had their composure. Gate 32 was bustling. Boarding agents confirmed documents. Passengers lined up according to group numbers, and the low hum of conversation filled the air. As they approached, Lauren's eyes locked on a woman in a perfectly tailored Orion Air uniform standing at the entrance to the first-class boarding lane. She exuded authority, not just because of her height or the immaculate bun pinned at the nape of her neck, but because of the way she commanded the space without saying a word. The golden insignia on her lapel marked her rank unmistakably: Vanessa Clark, Flight Purser. Vanessa's dark eyes swept over the passengers like a seasoned conductor scanning her orchestra. When her gaze landed on Lauren and Maya, a smile curved across her lips. "Good afternoon, ladies," she said warmly, stepping forward. "First class?" Lauren felt a small flicker of relief. Vanessa's tone was smooth, her posture professional. This could be the first friendly face in hours. "Yes," Lauren replied. "Seats 2A and 2B. Vanessa's eyes dropped to the boarding passes in Lauren's hand. For a moment, her expression remained pleasant. Then, something subtle shifted. "Oh," she said lightly, her voice still smooth but threaded with something sharper. "I see." She glanced over her shoulder toward the gate agent, a younger man in a navy blazer named Parker. "Parker, could you double-check these seats for me?" Lauren's brow furrowed. "Is there a problem?" Vanessa's smile didn't falter. "Just a quick verification. Sometimes the system misassigns first-class seats, especially on busy flights." Maya's stomach tightened. The phrasing was polite, but the implication was clear. Parker took the boarding passes, glancing between the sisters and his computer screen. He typed something, his expression carefully neutral. I don't see." Vanessa stepped closer, lowering her voice just enough to sound confidential. "We just have to make sure first class is reserved for passengers who can make full use of the experience. It's a different environment, you understand. Not everyone feels comfortable there." The words hung in the air, coated in politeness but heavy with exclusion. Lauren's spine straightened. "Our father purchased these seats. We are exactly where we're supposed to be." Vanessa's smile remained fixed, but there was a glint of steel in her eyes now. "Of course, I'm simply ensuring there's no misunderstanding." Parker looked from Vanessa to Lauren, then back again. "Do you want me to reassign temporarily until we confirm?" Lauren could feel Maya tense beside her. She placed a hand lightly on her sister's arm, a silent reminder to hold position. "No need," Lauren said, her voice level but firm. "We'll wait for confirmation with our original seats." Vanessa's gaze lingered on them for a moment. Then she stepped back with the smooth control of someone who wasn't used to being challenged directly. "Very well," she said, her voice honeyed again. "I'll see you on board." But the smile she gave Parker as she turned away wasn't one of warmth. It was one of quiet calculation. Lauren and Maya stepped to the side of the boarding lane, out of the direct flow of passengers. Maya's voice was low but sharp. "That was not a friendly conversation." Lauren nodded slightly, her eyes still on Vanessa as the purser moved gracefully among the other first-class passengers, greeting them with effortless charm. "No, that was a gatekeeper making sure we know we don't belong here. Not yet, anyway." For the casual observer, nothing looked amiss. Vanessa was polite, professional, perfectly in line with her role. But for those paying attention, the undercurrent was unmistakable. And for Lauren and Maya, the pattern was now impossible to ignore. They waited quietly, the tension simmering just beneath their calm exteriors. Vanessa's introduction hadn't been a welcome, it had been a warning. The boarding call for first class echoed across Gate 32. Lauren and Maya stepped forward with measured steps, their posture composed even as they felt the eyes of nearby passengers on them. Vanessa stood at the jet bridge entrance, her smile warm for the passengers ahead of them. A businessman in a tailored suit, a woman in designer travel wear, a couple holding priority passes. When Lauren and Maya reached the front, Vanessa's smile didn't falter, but her tone shifted almost imperceptibly. "Ah, Miss Sinclair," she said, her voice smooth. "There's been a slight adjustment. Just one moment." Lauren's brows knit together. "Adjustment?" Vanessa's eyes flicked toward the open first-class cabin visible down the jet bridge. "We have a VIP passenger joining us unexpectedly. I'm sure you'll understand. Sometimes certain arrangements must be made." Before Lauren could respond, Vanessa stepped to the side, allowing another passenger to pass. A tall man in a custom suit, his expensive leather carry-on slung effortlessly over his shoulder. Vanessa's greeting to him was markedly different. "Mr. Grant, what a pleasure to see you again. Right this way, your usual seat is waiting." Lauren and Maya stood aside, their boarding passes still in hand, as Mr. Grant walked past, offering them a polite but distracted nod. Vanessa turned back to the sisters. "We'll have you seated as soon as the adjustment is confirmed. Please wait here." The implication was subtle but clear. "Step aside, someone more important is here." Maya felt her chest tighten. "We have confirmed seats. Our father purchased them." Vanessa's smile didn't waver, but there was a flicker of condescension in her eyes. "Of course, and we appreciate your understanding in making room for valued guests." Lauren's jaw tightened, but she stayed silent, her mind cataloging every word, every glance, every action. As they waited, another first-class passenger approached. A woman in her late 40s, impeccably dressed, who greeted Vanessa with familiarity. Lauren noticed something curious. The woman glanced at them briefly, her expression flickering with recognition, then surprise. "Are you?" the woman began softly, but Vanessa stepped in quickly. "This way, Mrs. Hayes, right to your seat." Lauren caught the name, Hayes. Something clicked. Her father had mentioned a Hayes during a dinner conversation months ago. Someone whose stalled investment deal had been salvaged at the last moment thanks to his personal intervention. Maya noticed it too, her eyes narrowing. As Mrs. Hayes walked down the jet bridge, she glanced back once more at the sisters, her expression thoughtful. Vanessa returned to them, her tone pleasant again. "We appreciate your patience. Economy seating is available if first class becomes constrained." The phrasing was almost elegant in how it diminished them. Lauren exchanged a glance with Maya, the unspoken message passing between them. This isn't over, but not here, not yet. They stepped onto the jet bridge finally, Vanessa following just behind. Inside the aircraft, the first-class cabin was pristine. Wide leather seats, soft lighting, champagne already being poured for some passengers. Vanessa moved smoothly ahead of them, guiding Mr. Grant and Mrs. Hayes to their seats. As she passed by, Mrs. Byrne, Hayes leaned slightly toward her. "Vanessa, who are those young ladies?" she asked, her voice low, but not low enough. "Just students," Vanessa replied lightly. "Not accustomed to this cabin. There was a booking correction earlier." Lauren's eyes caught Mrs. Hayes's again, the faintest flicker of disapproval crossing the woman's face at Vanessa's explanation. They moved to their assigned seats, 2A and 2B, only to find small trays already set with champagne flutes for Mr. Grant. Vanessa hesitated as if surprised, then said smoothly, "It seems there's been a mix-up. Allow me to—" Before she could finish, Mrs. Hayes's voice carried across the aisle. "Vanessa, I'm certain the Sinclairs are in the correct seats. I've met Jonathan Sinclair before." The air in the cabin shifted. Vanessa's smile stiffened slightly. "Of course, Mrs. Hayes. I was just confirming accommodations." She stepped aside, motioning for Lauren and Maya to take their seats. As the sisters settled in, Maya leaned slightly toward Lauren. "She knows Dad?" Lauren nodded once. She also just planted the first doubt in Vanessa's mind. For the audience, this was a subtle but important twist. The same VIP passengers Vanessa was trying to impress were now quietly aligning, if only partially, with the sisters. The humiliation had been public, but the seeds of reversal had been planted quietly, in the very space Vanessa controlled most fiercely. Lauren reclined slightly in her seat, her expression calm, but her mind was already moving ahead. Vanessa had tried to make a statement, but she might have just invited the wrong witness. The hum of the first-class cabin was deceptively calm. Passengers sipped champagne. Luggage was stowed, and the scent of fresh coffee drifted from the galley. But for Lauren and Maya, the polite veneer was stretched taut over a storm that had been building all morning. Lauren sat stiffly, her boarding pass folder on her lap, every small humiliation of the day replaying in her head like an unbroken reel. Maya, seated beside her, stared straight ahead, her fingers tightening around her phone. Vanessa passed by, pausing just long enough to offer the sisters a professional smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Can I get you ladies something to drink while we wait for final boarding?" Lauren's lips curved into a polite but cool smile. "We're fine, thank you." Vanessa moved on, greeting another passenger with warmth. The message was clear. "You may be seated here, but you are not welcome here." Maya turned slightly to her sister, her voice low. "Enough." Lauren's brow arched. "Enough what?" "This," Maya said, gesturing subtly around them. "Check-in, TSA, the restaurant, Vanessa playing gatekeeper, now this charade in first class. We've been documenting all of it, and Dad said only call if it was an emergency." She slipped her phone from her bag. "This qualifies." Lauren hesitated. She had wanted the pattern to be undeniable before involving their father, but she could see the frustration simmering in Maya, the constant erosion of their dignity. "All right," Lauren said finally. "Put it on speaker." Maya scrolled to Jonathan Sinclair's contact, her thumb hovering for only a moment before pressing call. The line rang once, twice. "Sweetheart," came the familiar deep voice. Calm, controlled. The kind of voice that always made people stop talking when he entered a room. "Dad," Maya said, her tone a careful blend of respect and urgency. "We're on Orion Air Flight 417, and they're refusing to honor our first-class seats. It started at check-in." Jonathan's voice cut in. Still even. "Lauren is there with you?" "Yes," Lauren said, leaning toward the phone. "Good," Jonathan replied. There was no rush in his voice, no anger, just a weight of absolute authority beneath every word. "Tell me exactly what has happened from the moment you arrived at the terminal." Lauren began recounting the events, her voice steady but precise. Check-in downgrade, TSA secondary screening, restaurant seating denial, Vanessa's intervention at the gate. Jonathan didn't interrupt. When Lauren finished, there was a moment of silence. Maya glanced at her sister, expecting the next words to be instructions for the crew to fix everything immediately. Instead, Jonathan said something that made both sisters pause. "I need you to stay exactly where you are. Do not move. Do not go into the lounge. Stay in public view. Understood?" Maya blinked. "Wait, what? You're not going to call them right now?" Jonathan's tone was steady, but there was an edge of calculation. "I am calling them, but not to make them fix your seats. Not yet. I want you visible. I want them to keep behaving as they have been, where everyone can see them. The more they think no one is watching, the more they will show me exactly what's wrong." Lauren's eyes narrowed slightly. "You're building a case." "I'm confirming a pattern," Jonathan corrected. "One that extends beyond you. This isn't just about your seats. It's about the way Orion Air treats passengers when they think no one important is looking." Maya leaned closer to the phone. "Dad, we've been patient, but this is humiliating." "I know," Jonathan said, his voice softening just slightly. "And that's exactly why I need you to stay there. Every word, every action is evidence. You've done perfectly so far. Don't break the pattern now." For the audience, this was the twist no one saw coming. The moment the father appeared, the natural expectation was for him to sweep in and fix everything in an instant. Instead, Jonathan was asking them to hold their ground, to endure a little longer, not out of neglect, but because there was a larger plan at work. Lauren understood, but that didn't make it easier. She glanced toward the galley, where Vanessa stood speaking to a junior flight attendant, both of them glancing occasionally toward the sisters. "Understood," Lauren said finally. "Good," Jonathan replied. "I will handle what needs to be handled from my side. For now, you stay in those seats and keep recording." "Copy that," Maya said reluctantly, ending the call. She turned to Lauren. "He's playing chess." Lauren nodded. "And Vanessa doesn't even realize she's on the board." As the final passengers boarded, Vanessa returned to the sisters' row. "Ladies, we'll be closing the cabin doors shortly. Please be sure all personal items are stowed." Lauren gave her a polite smile, slipping her phone into her bag. "Of course." Vanessa's smile was just as polite, just as cool, as she moved on. But for the sisters, and for the audience, there was now a new undercurrent. This was no longer just a series of humiliations. This was a stage, and the performance was about to reach its breaking point. The doors to the first-class cabin had barely closed when a subtle shift in the cabin's energy began. The usual brisk pace of the crew slowed. Murmurs replaced the steady efficiency, and Vanessa's calm smile began to look just a shade tighter. Lauren and Maya exchanged a glance. Something had changed, though they couldn't yet see what. Lauren's phone buzzed quietly in her lap. It was a message from Jonathan. "Protocol Alpha initiated. Remain seated. Do not move from public view." Maya's eyes widened slightly as Lauren tilted the phone toward her. "What's Protocol Alpha?" she whispered. Lauren shook her head. "Whatever it is, it just started." The captain's voice crackled over the intercom, far calmer than the look on Vanessa's face suggested. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've been instructed to delay departure due to an operational directive. We'll provide updates shortly." Around the cabin, first-class passengers exchanged curious glances. One or two groaned softly, pulling out phones to check emails. Lauren noticed Vanessa step toward the galley, her posture crisp, but her steps quicker than usual. She picked up the phone and spoke in low tones, her back partially turned. Across the aisle, Mrs. Hayes looked up from her glass of champagne and arched an eyebrow at the sisters. "Your father must be doing something," she murmured softly, just loud enough for Lauren to catch. Lauren's expression didn't change, but her mind cataloged the comment. Mrs. Hayes knew enough to connect dots. Vanessa's subtle hostility hadn't gone unnoticed. Moments later, the cabin door opened, and a uniformed Orion Air Operations officer stepped aboard. She was tall, in her late 30s, with the calm, purposeful stride of someone used to delivering bad news in a polished package. Her name tag read Supervisor Dana Kelly, HQ Operations. Vanessa's smile snapped back into place like a mask. "Dana, what a surprise to see you here." Dana's own smile was polite but thin. "Vanessa, we need to speak after the passengers are settled." Her eyes swept the cabin, pausing just a fraction too long on Lauren and Maya. Miss Sinclair, your father asked me to escort you to the VIP lounge for your comfort while this delay is resolved," Dana said smoothly. Maya's brows furrowed. "He asked you?" Dana's smile was impeccable. "Absolutely. He's concerned about you waiting here during operational disruptions. The lounge will be more comfortable, quieter. We'll provide refreshments and privacy." Lauren's instincts prickled. Jonathan's last message had been explicit. "Do not move. Stay in public view." "That's very thoughtful," Lauren said evenly. "But we'll stay in our seats." Dana's smile didn't falter, but there was the faintest flicker of something behind her eyes. "It's really no trouble. The VIP lounge is prepared specifically for you. It's in your best interest." Maya leaned slightly toward her sister. "This doesn't feel right." Lauren kept her eyes on Dana. "Please let my father know we appreciate the offer, but we'll remain here." Vanessa stepped forward, her own voice joining the conversation. "Ladies, I can assure you the lounge is a far more suitable place to wait. First-class boarding will resume when we're cleared, and we'll ensure you're the first passengers reseated." Lauren's polite smile didn't change. "We're comfortable here. Thank you." Dana hesitated for just a beat too long before inclining her head. "Very well, but please be aware, operational matters may take time." She stepped back toward the galley, her phone already in her hand. As soon as she disappeared, Maya exhaled slowly. "That was a setup." Lauren nodded. "They wanted us out of sight. In the lounge, there are no passengers, no witnesses, no cameras. And Dad told us exactly not to do that. Around them, the atmosphere in the cabin continued to shift. Flight attendants whispered quietly. The captain's voice came over the intercom again, this time with more weight. Ladies and gentlemen, due to a directive from headquarters, all Orion Air flights are currently grounded pending review. We appreciate your patience. A low ripple moved through the cabin. All flights. That wasn't a routine delay. Across the aisle, Mrs. Hayes muttered to Mr. Grant, "Grounding the fleet. Jonathan's making his move." Lauren's phone buzzed again. Another message from Jonathan. "Grounding complete. Remain visible. Pressure will build. Stay the course." Maya's expression shifted, part pride, part disbelief. "He grounded the whole airline for this." Lauren's voice was steady. "Not for this. For everything." In the galley, Dana was speaking into her phone again, her voice hushed but tense. Vanessa stood nearby, her posture perfect but her eyes sharp. Lauren watched her carefully. Vanessa's earlier poise was cracking, just slightly. She was still performing for the cabin, but there was calculation behind her every step. "This isn't over," Lauren murmured softly to Maya. "No," Maya agreed. "It's just starting." For the audience, this was the emotional peak they'd been waiting for. The father's power in full display. The airline brought to a halt. But just as quickly, a new layer of tension slid in. This wasn't over, and the system wasn't going to give up easily. In a glass-walled boardroom high above Manhattan, the air was thick with tension. Preston Hale sat at the head of the polished mahogany table, a perfectly tailored suit wrapping his lean frame. His cufflinks gleamed, a subtle reminder of the old guard power he represented. Around him sat a half-dozen Orion Air board members, some uneasy, some impatient. On the large monitor at the far end of the room, a map displayed the current state of operations. Every Orion Air aircraft in the country grounded. "This is madness," Preston said smoothly, his voice projecting controlled outrage. "Jonathan has paralyzed the airline, costing us millions of dollars every hour, over what appears to be a personal family dispute." A few board members shifted in their seats. Preston had chosen his words carefully. Personal family dispute. He knew how to make Jonathan's decisive move look self-serving. "Let's be clear," Preston continued. "No one is saying discrimination is acceptable, but grounding the entire fleet? This isn't crisis management. It's theater, and it's eroding shareholder confidence by the minute." One board member, a woman named Karen DuPont, leaned forward. "Preston, the optics aren't great, but if Jonathan has evidence," Preston cut in. "So far, all we have are the claims of two teenage girls who may or may not have misunderstood the situation, and Jonathan refuses to let operations handle this quietly." At that moment, Preston's phone buzzed on the table. A message flashed across the screen from an Orion PR contact. "Media package ready for release." Preston's lips curved faintly. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, standing, "if Jonathan wants a public fight, we will give him one, and we will win in the court of public opinion before the board even votes." Back on Flight 417, Vanessa was in the galley, speaking in low tones on her phone. Her voice, normally measured and precise, carried an edge of anxiety. "Yes, Mr. Hale. I understand. I'm doing my best to maintain the cabin. The sisters are still in their seats. No, I haven't approached them again. Yes, I'll cooperate." She hung up just as Mrs. Hayes stepped into the galley. Vanessa's mask returned instantly. "Can I get you another drink, Mrs. Hayes?" Mrs. Hayes' smile was polite, but her eyes were sharp. "No, thank you. I was just stretching my legs." Vanessa inclined her head. Of course. Within the hour, social media began to shift. What had started as a quiet groundswell of passengers discussing the grounding suddenly turned into a different conversation. Passengers report disruptive behavior by CEO's daughters on Flight 417. Unconfirmed sources say Sinclair sisters refused standard boarding procedures. First-class chaos, entitlement, or discrimination? Maya scrolled through her phone. her jaw tightening as she saw posts tagged with their names, photos from earlier at the gate, cropped to make it look like they were arguing aggressively with Parker, the gate agent. Lauren leaned over to look. "These are edited," she said flatly. "Look at the timestamps. They're out of sequence." Maya swiped through more posts, each one more distorted than the last. "They're framing us." Lauren nodded grimly. "Preston." In the boardroom, Preston watched the live social media feeds with satisfaction. "See?" he said, gesturing to the scrolling headlines. "Public sentiment is shifting already. The narrative is no longer about systemic discrimination. It's about a CEO overreacting to protect his family." One of the board members frowned. "If the sisters can disprove this..." "They can't," Preston interrupted smoothly. "We control the media feed. And Vanessa will corroborate that she tried to assist them professionally and was met with hostility. She's willing to appear as the reasonable party in this mess, a loyal employee, undermined by the CEO's personal agenda." Back on the plane, Lauren received a text from her father. "I'm aware of the media spin. Do not engage online. Every fabricated post is evidence." Maya looked up from her phone. "He's letting them smear us?" Lauren's voice was calm but sharp. "He's letting them overplay their hand." It was a bitter pill for the audience too. Just as the grounding felt like a victory, the emotional momentum shifted downward. The system was fighting back, and it was clear Preston wasn't going to stop. In New York, Preston ended the board meeting with a carefully crafted statement to the press. "Orion Air remains committed to fairness and customer service. We are deeply concerned about recent disruptions and will be reviewing the CEO's decision in light of the financial impact on our passengers and shareholders. Our crew, including flight purser Vanessa Clark, have acted with professionalism under extraordinary pressure." The words were surgical. Vanessa was framed as a dedicated employee. Jonathan was being painted as reckless, and Lauren and Maya were being quietly recast as the spark that justified this concern. On the plane, Vanessa moved through the cabin with renewed confidence. To any casual observer, she was the image of calm professionalism. But Lauren noticed her phone lighting up more often, her glances toward the sisters sharper. The war had shifted, and while Jonathan was holding the line at headquarters, the sisters were sitting in the center of a battle being fought in real time. Their reputations the chosen target. The first-class cabin was quiet, except for the low hum of the grounded aircraft's systems. Lauren scrolled deliberately through her phone, her composure masking the deliberate precision of her actions. Every incident from the moment they'd arrived at the terminal had been captured. Photos, time-stamped notes, even discrete audio recordings of key exchanges. Maya sat beside her, phone in hand, working just as intently. "Rosa just sent me the audio from Skybridge Cafe," she murmured, eyes scanning the screen. Paige lying about the wait times, then seating the couple behind us immediately. "It's crystal clear." Lauren's lips curved slightly. "Perfect. Send it to Dad's encrypted drive." A ping sounded on Lauren's phone, an email from an unfamiliar address with a simple subject line. "I was on your flight. You should have this." Attached was a video file. Lauren tapped it open. The footage was from a discreet angle near the gate. Vanessa's voice was unmistakable. "We have to ensure first class is reserved for passengers who can make full use of the experience. Not everyone feels comfortable there." The tone was polite, but the subtext was knife-sharp, and the camera caught everything. The faint smirk, the look toward Parker, the glance back at the sisters. Maya leaned in. "That's Mrs. Hayes' voice in the background. She's the one who recorded it." Lauren's eyes flickered with recognition. Mrs. Hayes, the same passenger their father had helped months earlier. Another ping came, this time from Jonathan's operations contact, Calvin Hughes in IT. His message was direct. "Evidence secure. Preston's team tried to delete gate footage. I've restored backups. Includes TSA line video." Lauren opened the file. Pierce's TSA random inspection played out on screen in high definition. The aggressive bag search, the questioning about the laptop, the public humiliation over Maya's prescription. And, crucially, the moment where a bystander tried to film and was ordered to delete the video. Maya's jaw clenched. "This is everything." Lauren's voice was calm but firm. "No, this is more than everything. This is a pattern they can't spin away." She forwarded the files to Jonathan's secure address. Moments later, a new message arrived. "Understood. Timing will be everything. Prepare for turbulence, political and otherwise." In Manhattan, the boardroom at Orion Air HQ was buzzing with tension. Preston stood at the head of the table, confident that the media storm was tilting in his favor. "We have the public on our side," he said, scrolling through a feed of supportive headlines. "The narrative is set. Jonathan can't undo this." Then the large screen at the end of the boardroom flashed, the company's secure video channel activating. Jonathan Sinclair appeared, calm as ever, a faint steel in his voice. "I'm glad you're all watching," Jonathan said, "because I think the public deserves to see what the board sees." The first video played. Vanessa at the gate, her words about passengers who can make full use of the experience echoing clearly. Then Pierce at TSA, visibly targeting the sisters without cause. Then Paige at the restaurant, the audio of Rosa offering testimony as the hostess lied to customers. The boardroom went silent. Jonathan continued, "This is not isolated. This is not misunderstanding. This is a documented pattern of systemic discrimination that extends across multiple Orion Air employees in multiple locations, all within the same day." Preston's smile had vanished. Jonathan's voice sharpened. "And this, gentlemen, is what your public relations narrative cannot erase." Back on Flight 417, Vanessa received a call from the flight deck. Her face paled as she stepped into the galley, speaking in low, tight tones. "Yes, Captain. I understand." Mrs. Hayes, still in her seat, leaned slightly toward Lauren and Maya. "I thought you should know," she said softly. "I've sent my video directly to the CEO. They'll have to respond now." Lauren inclined her head. "Thank you for everything." In the boardroom, Jonathan ended the video presentation. "I've also received testimony from witnesses, including Mrs. Hayes, and video from independent passengers. Every attempt to delete or suppress this evidence is being documented. Mr. Hughes from IT has confirmed deliberate data tampering ordered from within this boardroom." All eyes turned to Preston. Jonathan's voice remained steady. "Now, we can either address this transparently, or the Department of Transportation and the Department of Justice will address it for us." The board murmured, tension rising. Preston straightened his cuffs. "This is emotional theater, Jonathan. Selective clips, convenient witnesses. The media still sees you as acting out of personal interest." Jonathan's eyes narrowed. "You're right, Preston. The media does see what I want them to see. And now, they're about to see everything you've tried to hide." For the audience, the moment soared. Every small humiliation Lauren and Maya endured now connected into an undeniable chain of evidence. But just as the momentum hit its peak, Preston's team launched their counterstrike. New headlines began to flood social media. Leaked. CEO Sinclair coordinated media ambush with family-friend witnesses. Insider says Hayes video edited before release. Anonymous sources question authenticity of TSA footage. The twist hit like a sudden drop. Maya looked at her phone, the fresh wave of accusations pouring in. "They're doubling down." Lauren's expression was calm, but her eyes were sharp. "Good. It means they're running out of real moves." In the boardroom, Jonathan didn't flinch as the false headlines appeared. "You can smear me all you want, Preston, but the evidence is secure, and your attempt to manipulate the narrative just became Exhibit B." The boardroom was silent. The battle was far from over, but the facade was cracking. The Orion Air boardroom felt more like a pressure chamber than a meeting space. Hours of tension, accusations and counter-accusations had left the air heavy with the weight of looming decisions. Jonathan Sinclair stood at the head of the table, his posture unshaken despite the relentless attacks from Preston Hale's faction. "Before any vote is called," Jonathan said, his voice calm but carrying enough weight to command the attention of every person present. "We need to address not just the events of this morning, but the culture that allowed them to happen." On the wall-sized monitor behind him, data slides appeared, graphs and charts showing internal complaint reports, satisfaction surveys, and employee exit interviews. "These aren't isolated incidents," Jonathan continued. "This is a systemic failure, and if we don't address it openly, the damage won't just be to our reputation, it will be to our long-term viability as an airline." Karen DuPont, one of the board members who had been wavering, leaned forward. "And your solution, Jonathan?" Jonathan clicked to the next slide. "A complete culture reform initiative. Transparent quarterly reporting of all discrimination complaints. A dedicated independent review panel with enforcement authority, and every executive's KPI, mine included, will be tied to equity metrics. Failure to meet them will directly impact compensation and tenure." The room murmured. Tying pay and job security to equity goals was unprecedented in an airline of Orion's size. Preston's voice cut through the low noise. "This is a vanity project," he said, his tone sharp. "And it's a distraction from the operational disaster you've created." Jonathan turned to him, his voice still calm. "The disaster was already here, Preston. I didn't create it, I exposed it, and you've been protecting it for years." The silence that followed was heavy. Jonathan straightened. "I'm calling for a vote. Confidence in the CEO." One by one, board members cast their votes. In the end, Jonathan's position was secure. Preston's opposition crumbled, some abstaining, some reluctantly voting in Jonathan's favor after seeing the mountain of evidence. Jonathan exhaled slowly. Victory, but not relief. There was still work to do. At the press conference later that day, Jonathan stood at a podium flanked by Orion's new Equity Oversight Committee. Cameras flashed, reporters leaned in. "This morning, Orion Air faced a moment of truth," Jonathan began. "That moment was born from the experiences of two passengers, my daughters, Lauren and Maya Sinclair. But this is not just about them. This is about the thousands of passengers who have faced similar treatment without a voice loud enough to be heard." He outlined the reform measures publicly. Mandatory equity and anti-bias training for all employees, from gate agents to senior executives. Transparent quarterly reports on discrimination complaints, published for both the public and shareholders. A direct, anonymous reporting line for employees and passengers to submit incidents. Executive compensation tied directly to measurable equity goals. The press murmured at the scope of the changes. Then came the twist no one saw coming. A reporter raised a hand. "Mr. Sinclair, what will happen to the employees directly involved in this incident, such as flight purser Vanessa Clark?" Jonathan's expression was unreadable for a moment. "Vanessa Clark," he said finally, "will not be terminated." The room stirred, confusion and even outrage rippling through the crowd. Jonathan continued, "Accountability is not about public firings to satisfy outrage. It is about sustained, measurable change. Vanessa Clark will lead the first implementation phase of our reform program. She will undergo and facilitate mandatory training, working directly with the Equity Oversight Committee to redesign crew training modules." A murmur moved through the reporters. Jonathan's voice sharpened slightly. "She will be the face of change, and she will be accountable for its success. Her performance in this role will determine her future with Orion Air." On Flight 417, as the news played on seatback screens, Lauren watched Vanessa's composed reaction in the cabin. The purser's usual mask was in place, but Lauren noticed the faint tightness in her jaw. Maya leaned in. "She's not happy about that." Lauren's lips curved faintly. "Good. Neither is she getting away with it." For the audience, this was the dip in the emotional curve. Jonathan had won. The reforms were in place. But Vanessa was still on the board, in a position of influence even. It was a strategic move, but one that left room for tension. Jonathan had shifted the battle from a confrontation to a transformation, and now everyone, including Vanessa, would have to live under the microscope. 6 months later, the morning light poured through the massive glass windows of Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, casting a golden glow across the familiar expanse of Gate 32. Lauren Sinclair adjusted the strap of her carry-on, her expression thoughtful as she looked at the space that had once been the setting for their most humiliating and transformative travel experience. Beside her, Maya scanned the concourse, a faint smile playing at her lips. "Feels different," Maya murmured. Lauren nodded. "It is different." The gate area looked almost unrecognizable compared to that day 6 months ago. Digital signage above the counter displayed Orion Air's new Equity Commitment Statement. A sign near the queue advertised, "Passenger Bill of Rights, fair treatment guaranteed." Passengers of all backgrounds lined up together. There was no extra scrutiny, no subtle division of tone or attention. As they approached the first-class lane, a familiar figure stood at the counter. Vanessa Clark. Her posture was as straight as ever, her uniform immaculate, but there was something changed in her demeanor. Her smile was warm, genuinely warm, and her voice carried no trace of the careful condescension she once wielded. Miss Sinclair," Vanessa said as they stepped forward. "Welcome back. Your seats, 2A and 2B, are confirmed. May I say, it's an honor to have you aboard today." Lauren met her eyes, searching for any hint of the old Vanessa, but there was none. At least, none visible. "Thank you, Ms. Clark," Lauren replied politely. Vanessa's smile didn't falter. "Please enjoy your flight. If there's anything you need, I'll be in the cabin personally." As they walked down the jet bridge, Maya glanced at Lauren. "Do you think it's real? The change?" Lauren's expression was measured. "Change like that doesn't happen overnight, but I think she knows the eyes on her now aren't just ours." Inside the first-class cabin, the changes were subtle but unmistakable. The welcome messages emphasized inclusivity. The crew interactions felt even, equal. As they settled into their seats, Maya looked out the window at the bustling tarmac. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if we hadn't said anything that day?" Lauren's eyes followed the movement of the ground crew. "Sometimes. But then I remember how many passengers came forward after us. How many changes came because of it. It wasn't just about us. It never was." The boarding process continued smoothly until a small voice piped up in the aisle. Lauren turned her head just in time to see a girl, maybe 8 years old, walking down the aisle with her parents. Her wide eyes landed on Lauren and Maya, her steps slowing. "You're the sisters," the girl said softly, as if confirming a story she'd heard. Maya leaned forward slightly, her smile gentle. "Which sisters?" "The ones who changed the airplane company," the girl said, her voice filled with certainty. Lauren felt a warmth spread through her chest. "We're Lauren and Maya. What's your name?" "Zoe," the girl said. "My mom says because of you, people like us don't have to worry about flying anymore." Maya glanced at the girl's mother, who smiled in quiet acknowledgement. Lauren crouched slightly to meet Zoe's gaze. "That's good to hear. And you know what? If anyone ever treats you unfairly, you can speak up too. Your voice matters." Zoe nodded solemnly, the kind of nod that promised she'd remember. Then she skipped back to her parents, who guided her to their seats. Maya sat back, her voice low. "That's the real win, isn't it?" Lauren smiled faintly. "Yeah, not just the company, the people who'll never have to go through what we did." As the plane taxied toward the runway, the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Orion Air Flight 417. Today marks 6 months since the launch of our equity commitment. On behalf of the crew, thank you for trusting us to provide service that honors the dignity of every passenger." Maya leaned her head back, a soft laugh escaping her. That's a long way from "not everyone belongs in first class." Lauren's eyes drifted toward the galley, where Vanessa moved with quiet efficiency, greeting every passenger with the same respect. "It's a long way from a lot of things," she said. The engines roared as the aircraft lifted off, the city falling away beneath them. 6 months ago, Gate 32 had been a battleground. Today, it was just another departure point. But for Lauren and Maya, it was more than that. It was a reminder of how far change could reach when someone refused to accept the unacceptable. And for the audience, this final image, two sisters quietly watching the clouds, knowing the ripples of their actions had reached further than they ever imagined, was the closing peak of the emotional arc. The story had started with humiliation. It ended with dignity. And in between, it had changed an entire system.